Today's parents face an impossible standard. The prevailing culture demands that every waking moment of a child's life be optimized, enriched, and entertained. If there's a quiet moment, the immediate assumption is that you are failing at your job. This relentless pressure creates a unique kind of burnout. Mothers and fathers routinely erase their own boundaries, giving up their hobbies and downtime just to cater to their child's every whim. Then comes the moment every modern parent dreads. The child sighs, looks around the room, and announces they have nothing to do. That simple complaint triggers an immediate spike of anxiety, sending parents scrambling for the next activity. Parenting has been turned into an exhausting performance, where the natural state of childhood boredom is treated as a symptom of parental neglect. Faced with a complaining child and a depleted reserve of energy, parents predictably reach for the most effective silencer available. They hand over a smartphone or a tablet. This marks a radical departure from human history. For generations, children regularly faced long, empty afternoons where absolutely no one was responsible for entertaining them. Screen time used to be a stationary, communal event, limited to a single television set in the living room. Today, digital access is constant, mobile, and deeply solitary. The numbers reflect this shift. By the time they reach their teenage years, the average Generation Z child spends about 6 hours a day staring at mobile digital devices. While the iPad offers the parent an hour of much-needed quiet, it is quietly altering the physical architecture of the child's developing brain. Let's look at this cross-section of the brain's reward center. When a child engages with the rapid, high-reward stimulation of digital media, it triggers a massive release of dopamine, flooding the neural receptors far beyond normal levels. This constant barrage forces the brain to adapt. The receptors become desensitized, and the brain permanently raises its baseline expectation. It now requires a massive volume of stimulation just to feel normal. When the screen is finally turned off, the behavioral fallout is immediate. Everyday analog activities, like reading a book or playing outside, simply cannot produce enough dopamine to engage this altered reward system. Every digital rescue mission erodes the child's internal capacity to find joy in ordinary life. This early overstimulation has long-term consequences for the cognitive behavioral brain reserve, the neural scaffolding that protects the brain from decay in old age. Clinical research clearly shows that excessive screen exposure during critical developmental periods is linked to actual physical changes in the brain, including reduced gray and white matter volumes. For many young adults, these structural losses are already manifesting as symptoms of mild cognitive impairment, such as poor concentration and memory loss. A smaller, less connected brain has less reserve to lose before cognitive collapse begins. This suggests that the neurodegeneration typically seen in the elderly could begin 10 to 20 years earlier for children raised on screens. By the year 2060, researchers project that for Generation Z, these structural changes could drive rates of Alzheimer's and related dementias up to 6 times higher than previous estimates. The short-term convenience of avoiding a tantrum today directly compromises the child's neurological defense against cognitive collapse in the future. Denied a screen, the brain shifts into a specific, high-level processing state. This diagram illustrates the default mode network. This specific neural system powers on only when external, task-based stimulation stops. As it activates, the default mode network becomes the biological engine behind imagination, self-reflection, and advanced problem-solving, thickening the connections between different regions of the brain. That restless, uncomfortable feeling a child complains about isn't a problem to be solved. It is the exact neurological friction required to switch this essential network on. This restlessness is the biological trigger for a child's highest cognitive functions. When children are pushed through that initial wall of frustration without a digital crutch, their instincts take over. They naturally begin to invent games, explore their surroundings, and direct their own activities. Previous generations naturally built out their cognitive reserve by navigating the physical realities of unstructured outdoor environments, entirely without adult intervention or digital entertainment. It is in these unguided, open-ended moments that children forge critical life skills. They practice emotional regulation, build a tolerance for discomfort, and develop a deep sense of self-reliance. Allowing a child to struggle through a boring afternoon provides the exact mental conditioning they need to endure the inevitable hardships they will face as adults. This brings us to a psychological concept known as good enough parenting. It turns out that perfectly anticipating and responding to a child's every need actually hinders their independent development. Forcing children to navigate their own frustration is an act of long-term care that prioritizes brain health over short-term convenience. Stepping back and letting children be bored provides the space for their developing brains to thrive. For exhausted parents everywhere, it's the permission you need to finally reclaim your own peace.